So I think the important thing to see about every patient, including
He
Earl,
loves him
is
so
the-
much, sorry. He gets
and I love Earl too, is the human spirit, and how you can't put yourself in someone else's situation until you're there, and hopefully you'll never be there. But patients with locked-in syndrome, with strokes, with high spinal cord injuries, a lot of people say, I would never want to live that way. But here's a prime example, and there are plenty of prime examples I kind of hear about people who do very well in these situations, who do incredible work, and who give back not only to their families, our great champions, but great champions for society. Earl's new goal, if I could say it, is to go to medical school,
Yes.
to learn about the brain, so that way he could help with brain-computer interface. And we're doing some brain-computer interface right here in Houston now, which we're going to try and get involved in a trial, using external electrodes, and then eventually internal electrodes. So there's so much technology coming down the line. Don't put yourself in the patient's perspective until you've been there. You can never see what a burn patient feels or a stroke patient feels until you ask them. Very many of our patients have really high quality of lives and rate their quality of lives as good, when you would have said, I would never have done that. And we're again here. Earl is one of our champions.
So how is this working again? Could you please explain how this
You want me to do that? I'll do that.
Please.
I spend a lot of time with Toby. I cuss at it often. It has 4 cameras in this bottom portion right here.
Why don't you just take it off and hold it up?
Well, he might want to type.
Yeah, they can.
So the bottom camera sensors are picking up the reflection of light off of our eyes. The slide that you saw with the black and yellow, that's what, it's kind of a calibration screen. And what that captures is everybody has wobble in our eyes, and so this is calibrated to the wobble in his eyes. I can certainly use this, you can certainly use it, but it's a lot actually harder for us to use it than it is for him, I think, because it's calibrated to the wobble in his eyes. The cameras feedback. I set the dwell time on this to a few microseconds, or well, maybe it's about 3 or 4 seconds now, but if he holds his gaze, it'll select that letter. These squares here basically represent about the size of his wobble. So it depends on the patient. There will be certain screens that have horizontal lines, but that requires impeccable precision. I don't know how anybody even uses some of those screens. If you're truly relying on it for eye gaze. Toby has the capacity to do lots of different things. The problem was that the processor that they built it with was already outdated by the time they had merged the cameras with the notepad tablet. Nowadays, Apple has actually purchased this patent and this technology, this piece right here. What we expect and what I've heard from the people at AT&T and Apple is that they plan on putting that on TVs first. So this will become mainstream, I hope, within a year or two, maybe not that soon, but when it becomes mainstream, it will not just be for people like Dad, it'll be for all of us, this eye gaze technology. There's other mechanisms and there's other technology that you can look into.
He's using now, we're working with Invotech, and I think that their protocol is to help patients in ICU units as well, right? Be able to communicate before they can speak. Correct, Dr. Burke?
That's correct.
So you start with the Big Chief method, right? You start with boards. Like, you just start with regular communication boards. That's what you're using in ICU. That's your first step.
Of course, Earl's looking forward to stem cells. And and Dr. and we discuss this quite often with Dr. Clark and with Dr. Berliner, and we realize we certainly don't want to be the first, but I think that Earl's saying, I don't want to be the last, so just remember I'm here, right? Right? Is that right? Dr. Berliner says, okay, well wait just a minute, and then we've looked at BrainGate, and
BrainGate is brain-computer interface, implantable electrodes into the brain.
We're going to stay home.
That can read signals, and then once you have a recognizable pattern of signals, you can start to type or move cursors. Or in Houston, we're going to try and move a robot, an exoskeleton that someone like Earl could wear, and then think about moving forward. And if that recognizable pattern could talk to a computer, you could actually advance your legs. Think about moving your right leg, think about moving your left leg, think about moving backwards, sideways. And this is technology that's here today. So once again, that's why don't think about people in the ICU as they are right now. you have to try and think about them 1 year, 5 years, 10 years down the line, and how much technology is coming down the line.
Is this type of technology available to anyone who has a stroke, or perhaps through his level of insurance and things like that?
Actually-
This is all research.
Well, actually, are you talking about this? Okay, so the Toby was purchased through the staff, how's it called? It's a Texas program that, it's funded by a grant through the state of Texas, and it's for assistive technology for people who cannot communicate. In theory, this would call 911. Unfortunately, I've had challenges with cell phone technology, exceeded the Toby's abilities by the time we even got it. So, but in theory, it text messages and other things. It doesn't have an antenna that's built in, or what it does have is weak. But basically, this is paid for by Texas because he needs to be able to call 911. Unfortunately, it doesn't function for that.
But that's all right.
But that's why they bought it.
And this technology is available for, this technology, the safe lasers, the
safe
IV
lasers.
software are all available for everybody right now.
But I don't believe it. A patient who doesn't get to TIER may not
Right.
might not have that wonderful access.
Right. We had a speech therapist at
Yeah,
TIER
it's
who
fantastic.
helped write the grant, who made
There's
sure
a
that it
question.
was.
I've heard insurance horror stories before, you know, but I don't understand how, you know, somebody with this type of stroke could not qualify
So he just typed that for you guys, so you can see he types in real time.
for disability or for, you know.
Believe me,
home
we've
care
all-
or-
they-
I just don't understand it. It's,
It's not. He doesn't require skilled nursing.
I can tell you that it's hard to explain, but I'm an attorney. My sister's an attorney. My brother-in-law's an attorney.
So be careful with what you say.
No.
I even hired a couple lawyers. Unfortunately, because he was in a national self-funded insurance plan.
ERISA.
He's covered under ERISA. Under an ERISA, I can file a lawsuit, and all I'll get is the thing that we said he was entitled to all along. Unfortunately, it becomes their doctor expert versus our doctor experts, and
Dr.
that's exactly
Clark
what
and-
happened. So when we left here that last time, when he said was that stay destroyed his life, he was not referring to Dr. Berliner, just so everybody knows.
Yeah, we probably.
What happened at the last discharge? So much of his progress.
Thank you, Kristen, for
Well,
pointing
I'm
that out.
trying to clarify.
No, that's
because
true. Thank
this is important for you guys to understand as doctors. You have to advocate on behalf of your patients. If you fail to click something or check something in the chart, it does not happen. He went to an outpatient stay at Methodist one time and he wasn't fed for 40 hours. Things happen. What happened when he was discharged from TIER was that there was like a typo in the discharge. We tried to supplement the discharge instructions. They didn't accept them because he hadn't appealed it yet, and so we basically, and then I appealed on his behalf as his attorney, and then they said they wouldn't accept that for whatever reason. So it basically just became a bureaucratic nightmare. What we believe happened was that at the point he had made so much progress to remove the peg and remove the trach, at that point they didn't see the need to cover what they had been covering before, which was probably about 10 to 16 hours of skilled nursing care, private duty nursing a day. Now they pay for nothing. Every single thing that he gets is from Alice, which we pay out of our pocket, and we love Alice dearly. She's been with us to DC, and she's just a part of the family. Mom works to pay Alice, so Mom can work. He's not going to a nursing home, and what Lou and I have said all along is that you cannot make it in a nursing home. Patients like Dad do not thrive in that environment. That's just, we are not done. He is not done. So why would we go to a nursing home and get less care or less therapy? He's not finished. He's not even close to finished.
Danny is Earl's nurse, and
Danny
now
was his
we're
nurse
really
prior.
happy to say she was with Earl. She came straight out of nursing school. She came to work for us, and she was with us for over a year. And now she is just signed on to TIER because she loved her work with Earl. So she's at TIER now. But Danny heard us many times on the phone saying he's not in end-of-life care.
No.
He is in rehabilitative care. He is in recovery.